Victor and Rambo, Nurse Ratchet and Hap, off to rescue their dad, who's done some bad crap. They wiped out the humans, we've all gone kaput. Robots rule the world and in the lives of puppets.
Hello.
Hi.
Gotta start giving me a heads up on these surprise intros so that I can emotionally prepare myself for them.
Yeah, this was such an emotional jingle.
It was if you've just blitzed through this whole book in less than 24 hours and you're still recovering from it.
Well, welcome everybody to Literarily Wasted. This is our live book discussion for In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune.
Hooray. Yay. Woohoo.
And yeah, the intro, it was, I said, give me a 1950s jazz standard, and it gave me some Frank Sinatra sounding stuff. But whatever, it's no Miles Davis, which we were jamming to before this. We put on some Kind of Blue, and we were like,
and I want to say something about these intro songs that we've been having. He writes the lyrics to those like the day of or the day before. And that's all him.
This was like at 3 p.m. today.
That's pretty cool.
Are we going to talk about how and then a robot helps?
Yeah, the robot
helps him finish.
Yeah,
help set it to music.
Yeah, the robot makes the music.
We're already on the path, y'all.
Yeah, the robots are taking over. Speaking of robots taking over, let's talk about In the Lives of. But before that, I guess we need to know who's here, right?
Oh yeah.
Do it like Miles Davis.
Like, where is this going? It's okay. I'm gonna speed sing it. No, I'm not. Hold on. My brain. Okay. Hi, Giggles and Kristen and Stacy and Brendan, Brandy and Kelly and Rachel. Hi, Jennifer, Carrie and Brandy and Christopher, Judy and Sean and Giggles again. Hi, Katie and Kelly, Victoria, Jenny, Leanne, Willa, Kira. Hi, Ashley and Adrian, Cindy and I can see it on my screen. And Kira, Carrie and Kira again. Hi, Sean and Ashley and Stacy and Lisa and Rachel, Brenda, Judy, Natalie. Hi, Adrian, Leanne and Willa and Ashley again and Katie and Stacy and Kristen and Natalie. Oh, and it says new comments, but and there it is. And Bethany and Stacy and Bobby and Jeff, who's late. Jeff, you made it just in time.
Made it to the song. And now I have a concussion.
You need to go lie down.
Yes, we are here to talk about In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune, which whenever you join the club, we have already read one book by TJ Klune, and it was The House in the Cerulean Sea. I don't remember when that was. It was last year sometime.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
This is our second TJ Klune book. So some of us will be looking at it from that lens as well, from like going from Klune to Klune, if you will.
It was February of 2023.
And I think, so over a year ago, and some of you have read even more books by TJ Klune. So you'll be looking at it from an even different perspective of all the TJ Klune works. Let's check the spreadsheet. So let's get into it. Just in general terms, what did you think of this book? Tally, you go first since you just read it.
I did. I started it last night around like 8 p.m., which I don't recommend doing because ow, my brain, ow, my heart. Don't read it that fast. One day I'm looking forward to going back and reading it again at a much slower pace. I had a suspicion. I actually told my friend Liz that I had a suspicion after reading Cerulean Sea that TJ Klune was just gonna immediately become a new favorite author for me, and this book solidified it. So, yeah, no, I loved it. I loved it a lot.
Well, there you go. There you have it.
That's it.
put that on the inside.
I'm going to try and put that bias aside because I know not every book is for everybody. And so I don't want to like poo-poo on anyone else's feelings if it wasn't the book for them. But yeah, for me, yeah, no. It made me want to read more, which is something that's been a struggle for me lately. So I think that's a win.
Well, that is a win. Christy?
You finished it today.
I also finished it today.
So you should go next.
Okay, is that how we're doing it?
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as House in Cerulean Sea. I really like the characters for the most part. I had some issues with some of them. I had some issues with some of the story stuff. I thought it was a very easy read. I appreciated the messaging and the representation, and I appreciated kind of this bit of a fantastical adventure in the midst of this kind of bleak dystopia. We can get into like who our favorite characters were and whatever later, but I thought it was, I'm gonna say it was pretty good. It was a pretty okay good for me. It was like maybe like a 3.5 out of 5, 3.25, 3.5 out of 5, just because it didn't give me the same kind of sort of warm fuzzies that I got from the House in the Cerulean Sea, and I guess it's unfair of me to expect that, but TJ Klune, that's what I wanted. But anyway, that's my short review of it, and we'll get into it. We'll get into it a little bit later. Christy?
So TJ Klune is really impressive to me because he does a lot of things really, really well. And there's a lot of things I really loved about this book, especially Nurse Ratched. She grew on me because I didn't love her at first, but she definitely grew on me. And then she became my favorite by far. But I just really love The House on the Cerulean Sea, and I don't think that this one hit the same way for me. So I didn't enjoy this one quite as much as like everybody else.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We have some people in the comments that agree with you.
Yeah, I feel like there were a lot of issues, and I agree with a lot of the things you said. But like, I gotta say, like his found family stories, he does found family so incredibly well. I don't think I've ever read an author that is like as inclusive and does representation as well as he does. And I love that. And I love being exposed to that and just getting more of that. Yeah.
So we got three different, we got Talia at a 5 out of 5, me at like a 3.5, and Christy at like a what? 2 out of 5.
I will say, I mean, to clarify, because I know, like, I am genuinely interested to hear what some of, like, if we get into the minutia, what some of the issues were for people, because I will say when it comes to certain, like this is also how I feel about like Ted Lasso. Like, if there's a piece of media that makes me feel something, I am forgiving of everything. Like, I won't look for those things, and even if they're then pointed out to me and I realize that it is a thing, I'm like, I don't care because of how it made me feel, and that's definitely what this book did for me. So I'm not saying like, oh, it was perfect. I'm just saying like it got me. So so it gets to keep me.
So I think it made me feel as well. Like there were some moments where it hit me hard, and I was like, oh gosh. But I also think that it made me feel like there was some negativity associated with my feelings were split into like, whoa, what a moment, and oh my gosh, I'm feeling for these people, and also like, I just don't know about this. So it was like it had me kind of like it would get me, and then it would take me out. Then it would get me, and then it would take me out again. I I will agree that I think there's a lot of people in here saying that like Nurse Ratched and Rambo are like the duo of the century.
Yeah.
And they for me they kept me in this story, like they and sometimes I would be reading and you'd have this like really intense moment between Victor and Hap, or Victor and Geo, and then Nurse Ratched would say something. I'd be like, "You just brought me back, Nurse Ratched, with your oddball humor." And,
I will say, Nurse Ratched made me laugh out loud a couple of times, which was great. And I love their banter, Nurse Ratched and Rambo, and just like everybody's relationship. And like me and Adam were talking earlier about Nurse Ratched's kind of character growth in the book was really lovely. Like she starts out as very much like raunchy, psychotic, murderous robot.
Oh, that poor squirrel.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But then like by the end, she's telling Vic and even Rambo, you know, that she loves them, and you can just feel how much she cares for them. And like from a robot, especially like her and who we know from the beginning who she is, like it was really great.
Adrienne, I'm sorry, I should have clarified. When I say feel something, obviously everything is capable of making you feel something. I meant like the good feels, like this hit me. This made me like, I don't laugh out loud a lot at media. And I laughed out loud a lot in this book, quite often while crying. So that's what I'm talking about. Like specifically, if it's, you know, if it punches me in the heart in like a very moving kind of way and it makes me love the characters, then yeah, then overall I'm going to say it's a perfect book for me, no matter what.
we got some people that agree with you.
Well, and I think looking at like the response on Facebook and the response on Discord, I think the majority of people love this book. And I'm really, really happy for all of you. I think it just wasn't the right time for me. And like, you know,
you were saying earlier, like Christy was, for context, Christy was real deep into Robin Hood.
Which is like a super epic fantasy, like kind of dark. And I've been reading her since like November, and just like constantly. So like this was definitely jerked me out of it, just the tone and the style and everything. And then like I tried listening to the audiobook first, and it's the same narrator as The House of the Cerulean Sea, and he's awesome. The problem with him is that he uses the same voice. I'm pretty sure he used the same voice for Rambo that he did for Chauncey, which is the blob that wanted to be the doorman. And it really like brought me out of it. And, you know, someone said comparison is the thief of joy. Absolutely. And like, I think that hurt me going into this book, because Rambo was Chauncey and then Nurse Ratched was Talia, except raunchy Talia.
From The House on Cerulean Sea.
Sorry, Talia.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, no, Talia.
Fine.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I think, you know, we can get into it a little bit more.
Oh my gosh, the empathy protocol was the best.
There. You're doing a good job. There.
Yeah, Willa. I know. I should have taken breaks, but I can't stop.
Kelly, Under the Whispering Door is already on my bookshelf. Although honestly, after this one, just because we do have the Q&A in a couple of weeks with TJ Klune, I wanted to reread Cerulean Sea, since it has been over a year since I've read it last. But believe me, that is on my list. I also just like, I would love, it's very interesting. I feel like lots of people, y'all are ranking the books, and that is something that we do, especially when it's an author that we've read multiple works and stuff. But I just always wonder what people would say about this book if we hadn't read Cerulean first. You know?
I think I would have liked this book better if we had read this one first. Not better than House of the Cerulean Sea, but better than I Like It.
And I feel like the gap matters, because like, since I haven't read Cerulean Sea in over a year, and now reading this one, that gave me the mental and emotional space to like really launch myself into this one. Plus the time, honestly, the time pressure. I didn't have time to think about anything else. I just knew I had to get through the book in time to like talk about it tonight. So I was just like absorbing all of it as much as I could, as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I don't think I was making the same comparisons to House in the Cerulean Sea. I mean, other than like I felt that having read House in the Cerulean Sea and then reading characters like Rambo and Nurse Ratched, I was like, these are Clooney characters. These are TJ Klune characters. Like it was very like sort of his signature.
Well, and he does have a signature. He has a signature with his characters. He has a signature with the humor. He has a signature with the connection, with like
comments.
Just the way it's, told, the story's told. Like it's all very TJ Klune. Like I started this book, I was like, yep, this is exactly what I was expecting.
Yeah, and I liked it. Like I liked Nurse Ratched and Rambo from the beginning, and there were times where I didn't like Rambo because Rambo was a big dumb and tried to like
almost got them killed,
ruin everything several times. And he's like, and everyone's like, be quiet. And he's like, okay, I'll be quiet, but first I want to talk about this. Oh, this, and then like,
see that didn't. He's so innocent. He's just a puppy. Like,
well, he was almost a dead puppy.
Well, and he's charming.
Yeah, that's what it's the same thing. It's funny when we started the book, like first off, I knew right away. So I read the like little 4-page preface or intro, whatever it is, before the book actually starts. And I was like, dang. I was like, I didn't even realize the book hadn't started until I got to part 1. I was like, okay, well, I'm 4.5 pages in and he got me. Like, I'm already hooked. So that's a good sign. And then I went back and read the dedication, like, for humanity. And I was like, okay. Yeah. I was like, and then I started part 1 and it was the same kind of vibe. Like, I do feel like he writes characters that it's so easy for me to like fall in love with so quick that it's just, there's something very charming about it. And I feel like we use the word charming a whole lot when we talked about Cerulean Sea.
Well, I mean, that's his style. But you mentioned the thing at the beginning, for humanity. That's the very first thing we read. And it was so perfect. Like it was just a perfect sentence.
Yeah. If anybody needs a refresher, it says, for humanity, you kind of suck, but you invented books and music, so the universe will probably keep you around for a little bit longer. You got lucky this time.
Yeah. It's just perfect.
Yeah.
We loved it, TJ.
I think there's so much positive stuff to talk about in this book. Like this was not my favorite, but I'm really glad that I read it, and there were some things that I really, really loved.
Well, let's dive in. Well, we got like a whole time to talk about this.
Yeah.
So we have Victor, who is the human son of Giovanni Lawson, who is an inventor, creator, and robot.
Victor?
No, Giovanni.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Victor is the human son of Giovanni.
Right. Gio. He's a general innovation operative.
And they live in the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse
in Oregon.
Which is up near where Tim lives. And they have this very sort of like Wookiee-esque setup. And they're like tree houses. They got the ground house, and they got all their labs up in the trees and stuff. They live in the forest, which is somewhat close to the scrap yards, which is a great place to adventure and find stuff and tinker. And he brings his 2 little friends, his robot friends, who he rescued, his like antique robot friends. Nurse Ratched, who is like a doctor nurse thing. That I just pictured like a refrigerator, like one of those smart fridges with a screen.
There's a great conversation on Discord with pictures of like what everybody was imagining Nurse Ratched looking like. So I highly recommend going to see that.
To me, she was a fridge with a screen, and then like tentacles came out of it. And then Rambo the Roomba.
And speaking of Rambo, did y'all read the acknowledgement at the end where he said that he bought a Roomba and then like set it up and had it going, and like the story just blossomed from just having a Roomba?
Yeah.
And I love that.
Let's see. Everything I think is just fascinating. So anyway, so they go to the scrapyards and they find this robot pieces that's barely hanging on to life.
Yeah.
And they rescue it. And it turns out this robot is more than meets the eye. Not a transformer.
Nobody implied it was.
I said more than meets the eye, which is the whole Transformers. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons.
Anyways, let's get back to this.
So they find Hap. They name him Hap. He doesn't know who he is. He's got a stutter because his voice box was damaged. They name him Hap because of, I guess, some letters that they find on him.
Yeah.
Which is actually, it's like the Star Trek motion picture.
Okay, moving on.
Voyager actually stands for Voyager. So anyway, they rehabilitate Hap. They give him a heart. He gives them a heart that he had made for Giovanni, and brings him to life. He drips his blood on the heart. Boom. Robot life. I don't know how much we want to recap. Or
Yeah, I don't know. We don't usually recap when we just do the whole book.
Just going.
We don't have to.
We don't have to do that. Anyway, stuff happens.
That's a good recap. But I mean, this book is absolutely split up into 2 parts in my mind, at least. I know it was technically 4 parts. But like there's up until Geo gets taken and the treehouse gets burned down. That's like all one part to me. And then the the Wizard of Oz trek for the second half was like all the second part to me.
The journey to rescue Geo. The Geo journey.
The Geo journey.
Just read us the book. All right, fine, Tim. Here we go. Chapter 1.
What's really interesting to me is all the comments. Like while I was reading this, I kept thinking, "Oh, this reminds me of this and this and this and this and this." And then also, you guys did the same thing, and I saw it everywhere. But like, well, this is a retelling of Pinocchio. Clearly, which I didn't get unabashedly. But then I
mean, it's intentional, which I loved. I love that it was not like, oh, Pinocchio gave me this idea, so I had to write.
Hang on, Leanne.
Intentional homage.
I'm so sorry, Leanne. Can we take a moment?
No.
Sorry.
I love that this was an intentional homage to Pinocchio, like that he intentionally was creating like very deliberate connections of like, references to Monstro and, going through what Pinocchio's story and journey was and the sacrifice for like, for trying to get back to his dad, and even like the fox and the cat, like, and like obviously all the more like obvious connections, but I love that he leaned into that and like made deliberate choices and references rather than just being like inspired by Pinocchio, and then there was nothing else.
Yeah.
Actually, that's cool. You got to meet him and stuff.
That is really neat.
But yeah, I even was going through this. Was like the Pinocchio thing. It's been a long time since I've seen Pinocchio, so I didn't really make a lot of the connections of Pinocchio. I got the references to Pinocchio for sure, but like I didn't, as a story, it didn't Pinocchio me.
Like even the doors, like all the icons on the doors.
Yeah, it was like the donkey ears and whatever. I got all that. It just was like a grab. To me, it was just a grab bag of Pinocchio references as opposed to a retelling of Pinocchio.
Yeah.
But this book strongly reminded Jay of Red Dwarf.
Interesting.
I thought the first half of it felt a whole lot like how The Magician's Daughter started.
Oh yeah, very Magician's Daughter. I call this the robot's son.
And another book that we read, this book really reminded me of The Hike once we got into the journey part of it. Weird. Like it was just kind of like random. Well, I guess it's just the collector. No, what's his name? The Coachman.
Coachman.
Well, Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz. A couple of people said Song for the Wild Built, and I felt that too. I've seen Murderbot a couple of times. Brave Little Toaster. Apparently, this reminded a lot of people of that. Frankenstein. You put that comment on the board already. Blade Runner. iRobot. Like, there's just, I don't know how much of it was intentional, but it's really cool to read a book and like just be reminded of all of these different great stories.
There was a time where I got like a Star Wars vibe from it. Victor being the Luke Skywalker and Nurse Ratched and Rambo being C-3PO and R2-D2 and them having to leave because their whole house got burned down and being the impetus for their journey to find his father, who it wasn't Darth Vader, but has done some bad things.
Yeah.
Like Darth Vader did some bad things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that any of this is like a knock against the book. I think it's fun to kind of make comparisons and to be inspired by certain stories.
Well, and while like I was reminded of a lot of these different things, it wasn't annoying. Like it wasn't like, oh man, he ripped this off. It was really cool to just be like to notice it or to like feel it.
Yeah, it really.
Sorry, go ahead.
It really started to give me kind of Big Fish vibes once the Coachman showed up. Like it was like Big Fish meets that one episode from Star Trek: The Next Generation meets Harry Mudd from the original series. Which is, and it's not just Darth Vader did some bad things. Yeah, you can quote me on that. Yeah, and then it was just really interesting to see them leave their comfort zone to go, to be taken captive by the Coachman and put on display.
Yeah.
Which is very much that Star Trek episode. And then to go to the Blue Fairy, it just got more fantastical with the Blue Fairy. And then finally the journey to the what was the name of the tower? It was like kind of ironic, wasn't it? Wasn't it like the Benevolent Tower? Yeah.
Which actually that kind of feels like 1984.
Yeah, it's very like dystopian. I mean, the whole vibe of the City of Electric Dreams was 1984 dystopian. Big Brother is watching you. Like the robots took over and then like did it wrong. They did like all the bad things in terms of like an oppressive dystopian society.
One thing that I loved about this book was that Vic was the last human probably in the world. And we don't know that for sure, but he's definitely the last human on the continent. And this story had nothing to do with saving humanity. And I really appreciated that. I really appreciated that it was a book about, or a story about a human who is saving his robot dad and like protecting his robot friends. And like, there was no like, are there other like people we can create or people we can find? Like, that's not even a question. I thought, and like the fact that when he dies, humanity is done. And that's just the way it is. And I don't know, I thought that was a really brave thing for TJ Klune to do. And I love that he like was able to focus on the story that we got.
Touching. I loved that too. It's like, this isn't about, kind of about humanity, but also not about humanity.
Yeah.
But touching back on Jenny's comment, and because y'all were talking about the Coachman, yeah, he wasn't what I expected because obviously he's just evil in the original Pinocchio story. So that's what you expect because of all these references. And so I liked that it's like he sets you up as, oh, and here's the Coachman, like the actual Coachman character. And then for him to turn around and, I mean, obviously he's still corrupt in his own way, but to actually then help was nice because I didn't expect to just like be the bad guy again.
I did feel the Coachman's 180 to be a little jarring for me. Like as somebody not as familiar with Pinocchio and hadn't seen it in like many, many years, like I thought that his like redemption was, and his sort of change of character and tone was
but was it a
jarring. It was enough of one.
But I also think the Coachman was presented with new information and kind of just went forward with that information.
He did. He was so villainous at first. Like he did.
Yeah.
He was so villainous at first, and then like it's like he took off his mask and was like,
I think
"Oh,
he still is, honestly, just, with robots. He was just so obsessed with anything that had to do with humanity. And that's, I guess, why it didn't bug me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the things that kind of bugged me, and I guess.
Oh, did anybody else notice they mentioned a poster that said "See something, say something"? That's like straight out of House in the Cerulean Sea, right?
I thought it was out of like an airport.
It was both. I mean, it exists in real life, and I think I see what you're saying. It was utilized in a different way. Like, I mean, it exists in real life, and then TJ Klune used it in Cerulean Sea, and then yes, he used it here again, which I don't know which it was referencing to. I don't know if it was to tie it to the Cerulean Sea universe, or to tie it to ours.
I feel like it's got to be intentional, and
it's the same universe. This is like millions of years. in the future.
That's what I'm wondering, and I'm also wondering, like, I haven't read Under the Whispering Door, and I haven't read any of his other stuff. And like, I wonder if there were references to those books too. Oh yeah, good idea, Kira. We'll ask him.
Creating a shared universe in all these books. Yeah, that'd be interesting to know.
It would be.
If only we were going to actually talk to him in a few weeks.
Yeah. So I have a question. What gives robots souls?
Well, if we had an answer to that.
No. Okay. So in this book, I think we got a couple of answers. Like Geo and Hap got a heart with human blood on it, and that like kind of awakened their soul. Geo and the Coachman, you can even say that the Blue Fairy gave them a soul, or opened them up to it maybe. But then like the Blue Fairy, Rambo, and Nurse Ratchet, like how do they have souls?
Well, I guess for me, it's not really the question of souls. It's a question of
free will.
Sentience, free will. Because like such a big deal is made out of this heart, and like we've got to give Geo and Hap the heart. Like the whole thing, at the end was we got to give them a heart so they can remember their stuff and like remember their story and their humanity and all that stuff. Well, but Nurse Ratchet didn't have a heart. Rambo didn't have a heart.
Yeah. And they didn't get wiped out with the Blue Fairy virus at the end.
Yeah, and so like I think like is the heart just kind of one big MacGuffin, and to say that like this isn't the thing you need. Like
Alex says, it was more sentience and evolving emotions than soul.
Yeah. So it's like, but and the Coachman also didn't have a heart. And the Coachman was to me like if they had to, you have to tell me he's a robot for me to understand that for me to get, and they did basically said that like he is a robot. But like as a person, as a being, like it was purely so human with all the emotions and all the feelings and all the complexities and sense of humor, even if he didn't quite fully understand it. Like it was, it's like I understand that this heart means something, but like we're seeing throughout the story robots basically with hearts, like the Coachman
without physical hearts, but with like theoretical,
metaphorical heart. Like the Coachman making his sort of switch is a show of heart. And Nurse Ratchet,
you can't tell me she doesn't have heart.
And Nurse Ratchet and Rambo both they feel
exposure to humanity because no one else had it.
That's true. I mean, I guess,
they were capable of their love and emotions because Vic brought them back to life. So maybe if the whole point of all these robots and the way they are, because like you notice in the things that they say, and they even pointed out, they're like, why did I say that? Or like, I don't know why I say these things. Like the whole point of these robots is they're made by humans. They're like humans because they were created from us. And that's what they talk about like all through the book. And so if these robots around Victor are capable of love, but they don't have that heart, which the heart to me, I've always just more associated that with the blood, because that's where the memories come from. As he talks about his blood carries the memories of all humanity. Like,
Yeah.
I just assumed that it was Victor. They were like, what is his purpose? And they were like, he brings us happiness. Like, he loves us. He takes care of us. And maybe that's what it caused them to evolve.
But the coachman didn't have that experience.
But he was obsessed with humanity.
Well, and I do think, I feel like there's a connection between the Blue Fairy and like getting free will, and
the Blue Fairy does something to you.
Heart, yeah.
I'm not sure what it is.
And I know that it was like heavily sexual, but I don't think that's it. I don't think that's all. I think that was just like what they chose to display. But as far as the blood and the heart thing goes, I have the quote. Let's see. Before the machines rose, there was a line of thought that blood held the key to unlocking genetic memories, the history of an entire species in the blood of the offspring. I thought to understand what I'd done, to understand you, I had to know what it felt like. If blood was the key to unlocking something, a single drop of your blood in my heart changed everything.
They just got to bleed on everything.
Yeah.
Christy couldn't handle that.
No.
And somebody we haven't even talked about yet is Hap. Or Harp 216 or whatever he is.
I think you're right.
17.
Human Annihilation Response Protocol, or Hysterically Angry Puppet.
Hysterically Angry Puppet. So Hap was a character in this book that was, for all intents and purposes, created by Victor, and then became his protector and romantic interest.
Yeah. Well, see, I guess I just don't understand how it brought back fully erased memories. I don't think the memories were fully erased, because I feel like Geo, even before he got the second heart, was already.
He had like.
There were flashes.
Do I know you?
Yeah. So I think maybe that once you have memories, you can't fully erase them or something. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to touch on that real quick.
Jumping to the end, though, my logic brain was screaming. My like, if this then this was screaming because of the way he installed the heart in Geo to bring him back, and he's like, "Hi, I'm your dad. Hi, I'm Geo," and he would revert to his sort of like original programming. I was like, "So what are you doing? Why are you going to do the same thing to Hap? Because if Hap does the same thing, he's going to revert to Murderbot." And like, I guess
because it was that or not have him at all.
Yeah, but if he's going to be like, "Hey, I remember you. I must kill you." Sorry, what did I do?
Mm-hmm.
That my logic brain was screaming. Anyway, so Hap accompanies them on this journey, and there's a pretty big moment where the Blue Fairy takes him and like forces him to remember, and then like shows Victor everything. I felt that to be a pretty powerful sequence of events there, where like
I did really appreciate that they didn't hide any of the terrible, terrible things that Hap did in his past, but also like showed Vic and even Rambo and Nurse Ratchet's acceptance of who he is now. Like, it was really lovely.
Oh yeah, Ashley. Yeah, if you're in the Literarily Wasted Lounge on Facebook or whatever, yeah, pop that link to that Facebook Live of the library talk. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
To see. Anyway, so what were we talking about? Hap.
We were talking about Hap, them showing Hap's memories to everybody and making Hap remember everything.
Yeah, that was a hard thing to watch. So here, one of the things that bothered me about this book was the relationship between Victor and Hap. I didn't buy it. It didn't do it for me. It didn't do anything for me. I felt like it was like forced. I felt like there was no reason. It didn't feel like it developed naturally. I don't know. And every time we went back to it, I was just like, really? Why? I didn't feel it was necessary, I guess, for the it didn't really do anything for the story, except maybe provide some motivation for the characters to connect or whatever. But yeah, that was just one of the things that I was just like, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
They didn't have any chemistry or whatever.
I think it focused on a different kind of chemistry, and that's why it didn't bug me.
What kind of chemistry, though? What kind of what?
I think this book, I did have to kind of like, and like I said, I haven't had a lot of time to process all of it because I literally finished reading it like 2 hours ago. So, and then I like took a 15-minute nap because my brain was breaking. But I was thinking about like, because I've talked about it before about how much I love V.E. Schwab's writing, another amazing author that we've done a Q&A with because she talked about relationships and the relationships that she writes about and how not everything is a sexual relationship. And then because, and I know a lot of people have brought it up, like the sexual content in this book, but it didn't apply in the standard way to our main characters, like I feel like what we're used to reading. And I thought all of that was really interesting. And I was wondering why, because sometimes a lot of the books that we've read, it does feel really superfluous. And I don't like superfluous sexual content in a book. I'm like, if it's just not necessary. And I was wondering why it didn't bug me in this book. And it's because for me, it didn't feel superfluous. Like I think it had a purpose in this story. And yeah, the chemistry and the connection, it was, to me, it was supposed to show that it was a different kind of relationship and that it was a different kind of connection that they had. And yes, it was a weird version of sometimes like it did feel, yeah, like when a duckling imprints on a person. And I need to go back and read it again when I can do it like at a normal human pace. But like for me, it just like all the stuff of like him being seen, it's like we knew that there was a glitch in Hap. There was a glitch in him where he wanted to be different. Like that stuck with him when Geo said to be different. Like he wanted to be different, but he was built to kill. That is his purpose, was to eradicate humans and then to be saved by one. And for those first interactions when he's having to basically rebuild himself because he doesn't know who he is anymore, but he's warring with this like unseen program that's coded into him. But like to know that he's been saved and repaired and being taken care of for a human and everything that was buried in him was meant to like kill it. I just honestly, I found it really compelling. And so like,
I guess for me, it was you know, it was when the relationship seemed to start, and it was like the very beginning. As soon as Victor found Hap, he was like physically attracted. I don't want to say physically like in a loosely sense because well, Hap wasn't active, but he like looked at him and was like, oh, this is something. And then he couldn't like look at, even though he didn't have any genitals, he was like, I can't look, you know, when they take his pants off or whatever. Like I can't do it. It was very much a like, there was like a physical, there was like an attraction there, and I was like, okay, I guess it's okay.
To people and not wanted to have sex with them. I feel like that's a real thing.
I thought their relationship happened really, really fast, and there wasn't a lot of like reason for it. But also, like, Vic has only been exposed to one humanoid being ever, and it's his dad. So like that's, I guess, kind of how, I mean, I've had a lot of time to think about this, and I think that for that reason it makes more sense. It's just that like it's the first humanoid that he's been around.
Yeah, I know, I get it. I get it. I think that like, you know, I think for me it was just like Hap's personality. Like once he wakes up, he's kind of an asshole.
Well, they have a whole chapter about how he's an asshole.
And I was like, really? Like, I guess it took me a long time to really find Hap endearing and compelling as a character, and not just kind of this like standoffish.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I think
jerk.
Hap is the weakest character in the book, but that might also be because, well, also Vic, but there's a lot of really strong characters. I mean, he's just a human.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't know, Hap. This was, I think, another thing that maybe kind of just rubbed me is that Hap was like
he was brand new.
He was new to everything. You know, obviously he had a life before this that was completely wiped away.
I'd love to respond to Jennifer's comment because that is something that it didn't occur to me, but now that I'm thinking on it. So Jennifer said, when did Vic learn to be modest? And I think in my brain, if I have to make up an answer, because obviously I don't know, I didn't write the book. I mean, he does talk about how like he read every book, so many stories, fiction, nonfiction, everything. Like there's going to be a lot of humanity in those stories. But I also wonder if because he is so different, he talked about how he hated being human. He wanted so desperately to be like his dad. So there's a lot of shame that he obviously felt about being different and being who he was. And I think maybe that modesty was just shame. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
feel like that's where a lot of modesty can stem from. Is
well, I
can
get on board with that. There will never, ever, nobody will ever see me poop, ever.
Well, good. We don't want
not even
what?
Not even people I'm married to. No, that is just an image that's going to stay with me, and nobody else is going to see that. Like, I get it, Victor. Like, you know, like don't want to ruin that for anybody else.
Randy, I agree. Victor's relationship, and it should have been more intimate with his dad. Like, I think honestly, if he had saved Hap before his father, then I would have had a big problem with that. But he didn't. So I think that would have bugged me. Yeah. Where'd they go? Was it Carrie's comments about, the kisses? The kisses to me felt more about feeling a connection with someone. They didn't feel sexually driven. I agree.
Also, I take it back. Benny's, he's
learn to lock the door, man.
He's a baby, and he's not going to remember that. And if he does, I'm so sorry, Benny.
Going to talk about.
We can. I don't know. That's people already mentioned in the comments. Well, I don't know if we're there yet, but like, we're still talking about Victor and Hap and how that ended up developing and evolving, and like it didn't take me out of the book. It was just one of those things that like I feel like it was ahead of me, or like it didn't give me enough to kind of latch onto.
Oh, we need to talk about how this book lied to us.
Well, hang on, if I can make another comparison.
Yeah.
Because we've read other TJ Klune books, and we've read The House on the Cerulean Sea, which to me had an incredible romantic development, like between the two main characters, two main adult characters, I guess. Like that book gave me all the warm fuzzies reading that relationship grow and develop. But we had a character that was really standoffish and kind of, rude, and then we see like the melting. I just felt that one, if I'm comparing how these things develop, which shouldn't do.
No.
The House on the Cerulean Sea to me was like gave me all the warm fuzzies, and this I felt like was trying really hard to do so.
Yeah,
didn't
I
quite.
think it was important because it showed we haven't read if we have, it's not coming to mind. We have not at least read one that was so blatant and like forthcoming about telling us a story of building a connection with someone as an ace person. And so I think since obviously I have not lived that experience, I cannot critique that kind of relationship and connection.
Yeah.
Well, I can't critique it either. And it says, like I obviously have my own experiences and whatever. I can only critique it as just a reader who's trying to latch onto these characters.
Where your romantic line is now, because you haven't let Christy watch you poop.
There's been no request. Like, I'm good.
Trust me, she's good.
I'm good.
As someone
to be clear, I think we have similar lines in our relationship. It's good here right now, but
I've seen it. You're not missing anything.
I'm good. Still.
Yeah, trust me. No spoilers.
Okay, but I do want to talk about this book opens up with this story about how Geo makes his treehouse, and then these two humans come and are like, "Oh, save our baby," and then run away. That's not like a story Geo's telling Vic. That's not something Vic is telling us. That's something that the book gods they're giving us information. And they lied to us.
You're talking about the intro, the prologue?
I was so annoyed. Yes, Talia?
She wants a high five.
I remember when we had that revelation of, oh my God, okay, this is not how Vic came to Geo. I did stop for a second and I was like, I went back and I read the intro again, and I remembered because the first time when I went from that to the beginning of the story, I felt like the tone shifted. And I was like, well, I didn't think anything of it because it was like a preface. I was like, okay, the preface is told in kind of this fairy tale way. And so to me, when I went back and I looked at it and I was like, I think for me, I'm making this up. We can ask him in a couple of weeks. I thought it was written as if like a story that you tell to your child. Like it was Geo telling Vic as a child, this is the story of how you came to be in my life. Like it was a bedtime story. It was a fairy tale.
Well,
he talks about himself in the third person.
That would have been totally fine if they had just made it clear. But like, I think what he did was effective because the whole time I was thinking the humans haven't been extinct for hundreds of years. Like that wasn't even on my radar. And so that reveal was very, very effective. I just wish he had told the intro as if like straight from either Vic telling us or Geo telling Vic.
Yeah, I think Vic is an unreliable narrator. Makes all the sense.
Yeah, no, it really does. And like when they were in the basement, I was like, Geo made him. I don't know why I knew. I just felt it. But like, I don't know. It was something that just rubbed me the wrong way because
I don't think it rubbed me the wrong way. I guess I didn't really call back to that moment as like, why did you do this to me, book? It was more like, for me, it was just kind of a reveal. It was a shocking, like.
Yeah, no, I definitely did go when I read it.
And like, there were several moments that just, like I said, like, there were a lot of tentpole moments for me in this book, which were very well done and well crafted and like just solid reveals. And I think that there was the really good pacing in these moments. The moment where they come and they on the whale and they burn everything down, like, was just, I think it was really well done. I think it was so well crafted, and like, I wasn't expecting it. Honestly, I was expecting this to be, because I didn't really read any blurbs or anything like that.
I read you the blurb.
Yeah, but I forgot it.
I read everybody the
I
blurb.
forgot it. And so I was expecting this to just kind of be a slice of life, these people living in this town, and kind of a development between Victor and Hap, and Victor learning who he is and maybe a sexual awakening. And like, I expected it to just kind of be more slice of life. And then they came and they burned everything down.
Oh yeah, if you were expecting a slice of life, that's a huge,
because that's what we got for like, I think just long enough.
Like 40% of the
it was like just long enough for me to be like, okay, this is what the book is. And then he was like, no, it isn't. Boom.
Your heart.
And then
Kira, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it was, and and then finding out that that humanity had been extinct for centuries was such a powerful reveal.
Really was.
The moment with Hap learning about, and like seeing and learning, the moment where Victor sees Geo again, in person for they finally make it to his lab, and the pacing there was just so like it was like you could feel Victor wanting to just like lunge forward and like grab onto his dad and having to hold himself back as his dad like didn't. It was just like these are the moments that were really well crafted to me, and like felt like just really powerful storytelling. So kudos to you, TJ, on always kind of in that way staying ahead of the reader and subverting expectations and like making reveals that were both shocking and that made sense. So yeah, there's my kudos.
Rose tinted glasses. Sorry, I was thinking this whole time. I was reading everyone's like critiques, and everyone has like a lot of really interesting points. And I was trying to like figure out in my brain like what was that analogy that I was thinking of before. It's like rose tinted glasses. You know, when you're in a relationship, when you fall in love with someone and you just don't see, like, it's not like you ignore the flaws. You don't even see them. You're just like, you're in love.
Doesn't smell.
That's how these books, when I was talking in the beginning, like that's how it makes me feel. Like I just have rose tinted glasses for the books. And so like, it's just, you know, until TJ Klune dumps me and breaks my heart, I'm going to love what he writes.
Yeah.
You'll still love him. You'll just be like, was that not good enough for you? I'll change. I'll do better.
Be like, man, he probably chewed really loud.
So let's talk about the acknowledgement a little bit more.
Well, this is also something we could ask TJ Klune too.
Yeah.
Christy already knows the answer.
I know. Yeah. I know the answer that's on the internet. So a couple of you commented about it. In the acknowledgement, there was a lot of like regret in the acknowledgement. So specifically, he said, I changed more of this book in edits than any other I've worked on, and it took a lot out of me to do. There are reasons for the changes I made, and while I did not agree with some of them, works of creativity do not exist in a vacuum, and it's become abundantly clear that I need to respect that. Thank you to the sensitivity readers. I wish this could have been the story we talked about, but apparently the world isn't quite ready for such a book. So
I made a note. I was like, "Ooh, this is something we should ask him about." But Christy was like, "I know the answer already."
And we can still ask him about it.
But I would also love to know. And I would also love to read every version.
Yeah, no, I would really love to read the version he wanted it to be. So like there's one answer going around the internet. So it's on like 3 different questions on Goodreads. It's on a bunch of different Reddit posts. And it's just like a copy and paste. And it says, I just came back from a book talk with the author and someone asked this question. Victor was supposed to be autistic. Klune spent 6 months interviewing those on the spectrum as research for the book. He wanted to contrast the humanity of a character with autism with the robots that surround him to show that those with autism are very human and not robot-like at all.
I think the world's ready for that story.
I think so too. So he had 3 sensitivity readers for the autism representation, and one of the readers said it was a horrifying misrepresentation of autistic individuals and that the book should never be published. The publisher followed the advice of that 3rd reader and made the author remove all references to autism in the book. What's really fascinating to me is I caught on pretty quickly that Victor could have been on the spectrum. And so I think that while they did take out a lot, like I think he still is that character, just maybe not quite as like obviously. Yeah. And like, I'm really disappointed in them for making him change his book, especially when like this acknowledgement, I feel like it was dripping his disappointment.
Yeah, it was interesting to me to read an acknowledgement that felt like regret.
This is not the book that I wanted you to read, is basically the vibe that I got. And I'm ready for that book. And I really wish we could have it. And I hope that, and I do think we need to talk about this if he's up for it during the live discussion. But yeah, I would love to read that version. So someone on Goodreads, the question was, is Victor autistic? He has some trails that fit the spectrum, including sensory overload, And also in the beginning of this might be a typo. And also in the beginning of the book, he had speech delay until he was 6 years old. And there were some other things too that really stood out. You can find people talking about like what kind of made them think that that might be the case. So it's just really fascinating that that's what they're talking about. And
behind the scenes.
And I am really disappointed that we didn't get the book that Klune wanted.
But we still got a decent book here, yeah.
Oh, and there's some like extra stuff in the Kindle version.
That's a manual for Rambo.
Yeah.
Like a technical manual, and also there's just a short story at the end. I didn't read either of them.
Yeah, and in the softbound version, there's both of those things. I don't know if the short story is in the Kindle, but it is in the paperback.
It is.
I know the manual is.
Yeah, the short story is.
Okay.
Because there's no way that manual takes up 48 minutes. He talked about it in Kira's thing too.
Oh.
Which is true, and I think, if you get caught trying to do justice to everyone's individual experience, you're gonna fail. Like you're never gonna be able to do that.
No way to do that.
Like you create a character, and you give us the experiences through that character's eyes. So, yeah, I mean that's just my 2 cents for what it's worth. But
yeah, Ashley, it was lovely having you here.
Yeah, we enjoyed having you back. You got a Benny that you need to take care of. Yeah. Our Benny's out like a light.
Yeah.
We don't even have anybody here watching him. He's just asleep.
Yeah.
Benadryl. No,
we
didn't drug our
not.
child. We didn't do it. Yeah. Oh wow! Look at we're over time.
Did you want to show off what we got?
A few. Just to remind everybody that 2 weeks from now we do have a live Q&A with TJ Klune. Woo-hoo-hoo! So please spread the word. Tell your friends. Tell everybody you know. Tell everybody to show up. We want to show up for TJ. It's on Wednesday, July 10th at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, and it's going to be a good time. Everybody that has met him already has said that he's a really amazing person. We look forward to that.
Yeah, we're so excited. We'll be posting a topics, like a discussion topics or a Q&A thread, yeah, on Facebook and probably Discord too.
So y'all can submit your questions in advance. You can also submit them during the live discussion because that's what the live thing is for. It's a live Q&A. We got TJ. He's going to be here. Okay, he's really funny. So again, live Q&A with TJ Klune 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks? 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Please spread the word to all the people that you know that like books.
And this is in place of our club meeting.
Yes. It'll be a club meeting for the ages.
Yeah. It'd be great.
And then also just an update on the shirts that we announced in
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago on the 5th anniversary live stream.
We're still working on it.
Yes, we're still working on it.
We've ordered different shirts because we didn't love these. So we're waiting on those to get back, and then we're getting new samples, and then we're going to be able to put them on the website.
We're sampling shirts. We're sampling shirts right now. They're going to get printed. They're actually on their way.
Yeah.
And then we'll print them lickety split. We'll be able to feel them and take a look at them
and show you guys exactly what they're going to look like too.
And then we also we have we do have a store website. We're not ready to tell you where it is yet.
It's not live yet.
But it looks like this. It looks legit. Look at this. So these are just
legit.
These are
placeholders.
Placeholder
but
things.
We're also going to have like some of our like just logo products like this.
Like a baby ones.
Maybe a little different. Yeah.
So we've got all sorts of stuff. It's an actual storefront for Literarily Wasted. These will probably change as we actually put our
we've given them very little information. So the person who's doing this just set this up by himself, and he did an amazing job so far, but we're gonna customize it more.
So things are happening, things are moving and shaking. They may not be ready imminently, but the baby onesie. But people want the onesie.
Well, Of course.
But yeah, now that we have this,
I'm gonna put it on my cat.
now that we have this storefront, we can do all sorts of things. Beyond, we can do shirts, buttons, mugs,
and it's something that we can keep up just all the time if we want to. So it's gonna be just better for everybody.
Some we might have some limited edition like designs. We may even have some stuff that y'all want to submit if y'all want. We'll get crazy and you want to send us shirt ideas, whatever. Obviously we'll have a process for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so things are happening, and we will keep you updated about that. But
hopefully soon.
We didn't just announce shirts and then forget about it. We also went to the beach for a week, so we didn't do anything for
That's true.
a long time.
We didn't.
But anyway, I hate to I hate to cut this discussion for the In the Lives of Puppets show because it feels like a really good discussion. There's so much to talk about in this book.
Yeah.
And we have people on all over the I enjoyed this, didn't enjoy this, but I think that makes for a better discussion.
Oh, I forgot to ask. Did you prefer Nurse Ratched or Rambo?
Ratched, 100%.
In Facebook, there's like a huge argument over it. So
I laughed out loud when I just found out that the acronym spelled out Ratched, and I was like, that's great.
That is how he laughs out loud.
Yeah, that's how I laugh.
Refuse to choose. To me, they are inseparable.
Okay, that's fair.
Ratched just made me laugh more. I mean, they're different characters, and I think they complement each other, which is what makes them such a great duo. I think if you have one without the other, they're not as good. But I just loved everything that Nurse Ratched said. Everything.
Engaging sympathy protocol.
That Nurse Ratched said. Nurse Ratched was beautifully written. It was a character that I could read a lot of. Also, I love the one to flew over the cuckoo's nest reference in the name, which is that's a good movie. Yes. Jack Nicholson.
Rambo was brave.
I love the rules too. We didn't talk about the rules, but like the rules.
I mean, I feel like this is a book. Yeah, we could talk about this one twice over, which, like you said, it'll make for a really good Q&A because we're obviously all still like itching to talk about different aspects of it. So
yeah, and The House in the Cerulean Sea, we can go back to that too.
Yeah,
which is Christie's most gifted book of all time.
That's true.
And yes, we know that he has written other books, and a lot of y'all have read his other books. But and Christy has mentioned this to me before, but I think we've done this. We did this for other author Q&As. We'll probably try and keep the questions focused on the books that we have read as a club, so as to not spoil other books for members who haven't read.
Can you imagine if we had stopped this book at the halfway point and like had to wait?
Oh, especially if it was like when the tree house
right after the treehouse burns
down. Oh gosh.
Can you imagine?
No.
If we had this is part one book discussion, we're all just like,
I would have been like, this better be a 10-minute discussion because I need to get back to reading this book, please. Like, can we all just check in and be like, is everyone emotionally okay? Yes or no? We're going to keep reading? All right. Or we all just sit here and it's an hour live stream where we're all just like, and then you turn to the
It's a reading party.
Yeah, we're all just going to read it together. But anyway, I guess we'll wrap it up. I hope that y'all enjoyed this discussion. I think it was, if you enjoyed it, if you like TJ Klune, come back 2 weeks from now. We're going to have him, the man himself, speak to the book club. And it's going to be fun.
Yep.
I got nothing else.
I guess we can say good night.
So thanks for everybody who says it's wonderful to be back. It's wonderful to have you back.
Yeah, we're so glad y'all are here.
It's so great to see a lot of familiar names, Jenny, Lisa.
And some people who just are always
people
here.
Who are always here. Yeah, we just see everybody.
We just like all of you.
But welcome back to those who've been out for a little while. And then, oh yeah, next month.
When is the meeting for the Scalzi book?
We didn't even talk about that. Next month's book
Yeah.
is Starter Villain by John Scalzi.
Oh, there's 3 Wednesdays. I mean, 5 Wednesdays in July.
Don't be sorry about being MIA, Carolyn. You do what you got to do. But you come back and you're always welcome.
But we're doing the Q&A on the 10th, right?
Q&A on the 10th.
Okay. So the other one can either be the 24th or the 31st. We'll get back to you.
We'll let you know.
It'll be on the banner.
It'll
be on the cover photo that those are going up at the end of this week. So literally, as soon as we finish this live discussion, I was actually going to talk to Adam and Christy about that, because when you said it took the place of the club meeting, I was like, oh, then we need to talk about the calendar.
Yeah.
So we will let you know.
That's for the 31st.
Soon.
But yeah, Starter Villain, John Scalzi. I reached out to him to see if he would do a Q&A, but he hasn't responded.
You're still waiting to hear back, and it's been
I don't think we're going to hear back from John. But we love you, John. We're reading Starter Villain next month. It's going to be a lit July. You're going to want to be a part of this.
Okay, he's probably not watching. You know that, right?
I'll call him.
Yeah.
All right. It's bedtime.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see you on July 10th for a Q&A with TJ Klune. Until then, have a good time.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night, everybody.